Hey guys, it's Mahone here. I'm going to be doing a Q&A on Instagram, and I'm going to go through some of your questions here. So let's get started. Question here from Kingslayer91. How did you become a CSGO analyst? So I actually played before. I played competitively. I used to play in North America. I reached MDL, but then after that, I kind of retired from the game. Shortly after that though, maybe a year or so in between, I started a YouTube channel. And from that YouTube channel, I basically kind of made a lot of videos breaking down things, breaking down strats, breaking down people's play styles. And that's kind of how I got this job here at NIP. Threat kind of reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to join our team as an analyst? And that's basically how I got started. Skelter24 says, what is something an everyday player can do to improve themselves and knowledge of CS? So I think the first thing is, if you play every day, that's going to help you a lot in just improving yourself day by day, just making sure that you're 1% better each day. The second thing is to improve your knowledge of CS. The best way to do this is to really just watch pro demos. I would say if you can find a player who plays your kind of positions, there's going to be some things that they're going to do that you didn't realize were necessarily possible, and you're going to be able to see some of the things that you can kind of incorporate into your own play. I think kind of doing this where you kind of watch a demo of a pro player and you implement it yourself, that's the best feedback loop to kind of have to improve yourself both in the game and as well as kind of outside the game and how you kind of think about the game as well. Laze says, what map would you like to see added to the pool and what map removed? So I think for me, the map that I want to see removed is Mirage, just because it's probably the oldest one, and I think, you know, I want something a bit fresher than Mirage. I think a new map to be added. I don't really think it matters which ones. I think maybe a good classic to have is something like Tuscan would be a really good add to the map pool. So I would say something like Tuscan would probably be the best in for Mirage. Random Filler asks, why did you start your YouTube channel? So for the people who don't know, I actually have a YouTube channel called Mahone_TV that you can find on YouTube. And there's just a bunch of videos, like kind of guides breaking down how players like to play their certain positions and maybe some strats as well. The reason why I started this channel was actually because after I stopped playing, I kind of felt like I still had a lot of knowledge to kind of give to the scene. I want to see the scene kind of improve. And because I was kind of able to understand what a lot of the pro players are kind of thinking and what they're doing, this is just kind of a way for me to give back to the community. I wanted to see, you know, how I can elevate the scene basically. So that is why I started my YouTube channel. Ken Aberg asks, where are you from? I'm actually Canadian, so despite NIP being a Swedish organization, I'm actually from Canada, Vancouver, BC specifically. Shumi1337 asks, what are you doing as an analyst? So this is probably a bit of a tough question, but my role has kind of changed over time. So initially when I first joined the team, I created a lot of videos for the team, basically just trying to improve their tactical aspects. So very similar to what you might have seen on my YouTube channel, Mahone_TV. More typically on for like matches and stuff like that, I help prepare the team. So I let them know what are some of the tells and maybe even create some sort of game plan on how we can deal with it. I work a lot with Threat in terms of how we can kind of steer the team in terms of how we can make them better, what kind of things we can start incorporating, and just kind of developing game philosophies that we can do on all the different maps. Now that I've actually had some experience actually working in the office, I work a lot with the players and just helping them improve their game and just making sure that things are as set as they could be, in the sense that you know, we want to try to minimize those moments where players aren't really sure what they're doing. So that's kind of my role, and it's something that's kind of evolved a lot over time. So that's basically it. Eric Thillen asks, how much of the player's intuitive decision making do you rely on for the game plan? So in terms of relying on the player's intuitive decision making, this is a little bit tough. Sometimes for a game plan, you may want to actually try to shift their decision making just a little bit by telling or letting them know what the other team's tells are. So for example, if you see this smoke here on top mid Mirage, you may want to tell your B player to kind of shift over just a little bit because you know it's going to be this play instead of this play. I think that's the toughest part about whenever you prepare the players for a game plan, is that you want to kind of tell them how to shift their decision making, but not necessarily give them all the information so they have to process it. You want to kind of give them those little nuggets that are going to alter their decision making just a little bit. And if you don't have something like that, you just let them play. Rami Mahmed asks, what is the process behind generating actionable insights which directly help the team? So I can go a little bit into this. So basically the process behind trying to find something that's going to help the team, especially for a game plan, I'm going to say, for like a match. This would involve basically watching through all the demos and basically trying to find where are their tendencies, where are their tells, and trying to see like what kind of nades they use and how they try to push and pull rotations, things like that. When you kind of get an idea of how the other team likes to play or what kind of spots they like to use or what kind of setups you want to be aware of, you want to just give like those small little nuggets of knowledge that basically tell your teammates or the players actually playing on the server, it's like, hey, when you come here, you should be expecting something like this, or if you see these flashes or if you see this smoke, you should be expecting something like this. And these are the kind of things that will basically help the team not get caught off guard. And that's really one of the biggest things that you want to do as an analyst. Before you create some sort of game plan, you want to make sure that your players aren't caught off guard above all else. Keon the Sloth asks, who from the boys' gameplays do you find the most exhilarating? So I think out of all the players, I have two particular options I want to say. So I think first one would be Hampus. Hampus is super slimy as a player. I always feel like for the opposing team, if I was the opposing team, I'd always be worried about where he is, because sometimes he's going to get into those positions that you don't expect him to be in. And the second player I'd say is Rez, just because Rez has such good aim, and I always kind of feel like when he's on point, whenever he's in those mid-round situations, those 3v3s, he almost always finds a way to try to win them with some crazy headshots that like you didn't even expect, really. So I'd say those are the two players that I would say I find the most exhilarating. SKG12K asks, how do you develop game sense? I always miss the brain games like cutting rotations, expecting blah, blah, blah. So to develop game sense, I would say one of the easiest ways is to actually just watch your demos back and try to see what exactly caused what basically happened in your round. So maybe sometimes if you're missing the cutting the rotations part, maybe you're either too early or you're too late. Most likely too late because the players have probably already rotated. So something that you want to look at when you watch back your games is to see what happened beforehand that developed that kind of situation that you're in. Why exactly were you too late on cutting the rotations? Is it because you weren't in the right spot at the right time? Is it because your players on the other end of the map made some sort of play and you weren't able to kind of capitalize on it? I would say the best way, like I said, is you want to review your past demos and look at the situations that got yourself into the situation you're in and try to prevent those from happening in the future. Iba asks, tips for playing CSGO as a beginner. By the way, all the best for all the upcoming matches. Sorry, I'm gonna redo that. Iba asks, tips for playing CSGO as a beginner. By the way, all the best for the upcoming matches. So first of all, thank you. Second thing, to answer your question, for as a beginner, so I'd say CSGO is kind of similar to playing ice hockey. The comparison I like to make with this is because when you play ice hockey, one of the first things you have to learn is how to skate. And I think that's kind of similar with CSGO, where CSGO there's recoil control and there's aiming and there's moving, making sure that you're counter-strafing properly. I'd say that you want to make sure you get your mechanics down, because it's the same thing in ice hockey, where if you can't skate, it's hard for you to do anything. So I'd say you want to get your mechanics really good as a beginner, so that way then the other elements of the game start coming into play. Because just like ice hockey, as soon as you can skate, then you can start actually doing things. You can start properly passing, properly shooting. It doesn't matter even if you had the hardest slap shot in hockey if you can't skate. So I would say the biggest thing, work on your mechanics first. Oscar Stromberg asks, are you considering going back to making more YouTube videos? And IGL, who enjoys them. So first of all, thank you. I appreciate that you enjoy my videos. Are you considering going back? I would say yes. I think there'll be a time where I actually come back and make more YouTube videos. I actually really enjoy it. I really enjoy all the support and the comments that I've gotten. And as well, the only reason why I'm here where I am at NIP is because of my YouTube channel. So I definitely will come back at some point. Ant Crew asks, have you learned any Swedish yet? So not directly, but in the times that I'm in practice, I actually can pick up a fair amount of what they're actually saying in terms of the actual words. So even if they said it outside of a Counter-Strike context, I would be able to understand it. In game, I would say I can understand maybe 70 to 80% of what they're trying to say most of the time. But outside of the game, if they're just talking in just normal conversation, I don't think I understand much at all. Kosisav, hope I said that right, asks how to start a career in esports, not as a player, but as a manager, assistant, basically staff. So I'm going to speak for myself here in terms of like becoming an analyst or some type of assistant coach or maybe even a coach. I think there's two ways about this. So the first thing is you kind of put yourself out there, you create content, like I did with a YouTube channel. The second thing is you try to find lower tier teams. Maybe if you're in North America, maybe you try to find some MDL team. And if you're in EU, maybe some advanced MDL kind of team where you can kind of show them your work and try to build your brand that way. So I think those are the two main ways to actually create some kind of career in esports. I think a lot of the time it's kind of hard to just put in a resume. It doesn't really work that same way when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I'd say those are the two main paths you want to take. That's gonna be it. Thank you guys for watching. I'm done with this Q&A. If you guys like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.